Deadpool decides to protect a teenage mutant from the clutches of a genetically modified soldier from the future. To do this, he seeks help from other superheroes. So the story of the legendary Deadpool continues sometime after saving his beloved Vanessa in the epic final battle of the first movie. Now we see him completely depressed and creating an explosion to end his own life. But to understand why he decided to lie on top of 4,500 liters of gasoline, we need to go back a bit. Specifically 6 weeks ago, when he became an incredible international gangster hired all over the world. One of those times he entered a luxurious building in Asia, and in his style he managed to surprise a gang of mobsters, taking out almost all of them and showing us some action-packed scenes. Though our protagonist assures us this sequel is a family movie, in his last mission, he's cornered by many men. So before finishing the job, he decides to escape in the car of our favorite taxi driver, Dopinder, who now works for him and dreams of living his life. That night, he comes home to celebrate his anniversary. Vanessa's a bit annoyed that he is late, but still hugs him, telling him she stopped taking birth control because it's time for them to have kids. They're genuinely happy, making Deadpool's life perfect and enviable. But this isn't entirely true because just like in the first movie, something terrible is about to happen. Out of nowhere, the gang he escaped from hours earlier shows up trying to kill him. Fortunately, our protagonist manages to take out almost all of them, but in the last moment, one of the thugs shoots Vanessa, and she passes away in his arms. Deadpool gets very angry and jumps out of the window and chases down the mobster. He smashes the mobster out of his car and eliminates him, but it isn't enough to make him feel better. Months pass and Wade can't deny his depression, so he sneaks back into the blind old woman's house to steal a bag of salt. But when she realizes he's come home, she tries to make him feel better. In the following days, Deadpool tries to pass his way in countless ways, but can't due to his powerful mutation, leading us to the film's first scene, where we see him explode into many pieces. Incredibly, his soul transports to a parallel reality where an invisible wall separates him from Vanessa, and she tells him it's not his time to be there. In the real world, we see Colossus arrive to collect each part of his body, taking them to the X-Men mansion to reassemble him until he wakes up again. There we see Negasonic again and meet her new girlfriend, Yukio, who greets him and welcomes him to his new training. However, Deadpool quickly gets distracted, and in a quick scene, we see the original actors from one of the X-Men movies. Elsewhere in some future moment, we see a mysterious man finding his home completely destroyed, and in revenge, he decides to travel back in time to change what has happened. At the mansion, Wade argues with his teammates over food, until out of nowhere he gets sentimental and starts apologizing and thanking them for being in his life. Meanwhile, we go to a boarding school where many mutant children are being indoctrinated to get rid of their powers, and we meet Russell, who will be very important in this story. The next day, Wade is called to his first official mission with his X-Men teammates, and he gets his new uniform. They go to the mutant kids' boarding school because one of them is threatening to kill everyone. Quickly, our protagonist takes the lead and approaches little Russell, who is behind it all. The boy mocks Negasonic for her Justin Bieber 2018 look, making Deadpool laugh as he tries to mediate with him. But Russell uses his powers to throw him far away, leaving our protagonist no choice but to hit him to take control, and so they put a special collar on him that neutralizes his powers. Deadpool then discovers the boy has been physically abused at the boarding school by the director, so he decides to follow his principles and start shooting all the staff. Colossus immediately tries to stop him, saying he's never had the material to be a true X-Man, leading Deadpool to end up imprisoned alongside Russell in a mutant prison. The villain of this movie is Cable, the mysterious man from the future. We see him now preparing the weapons he'll use for his revenge masterfully, while our protagonist also has a collar that disables powers, causing his cancer to advance. During dinner, another mutant prisoner starts harassing them, provoking a brawl, and Deadpool gets stabbed, turning everything into chaos. At that moment, the boy thinks they form a team, but our protagonist clarifies they don't, as there's only one person who truly matters to him, and she's no longer in this world. Suddenly, a loud noise rings out caused by Cable, who is epically broken into the high-security prison, searching for his family's killer, causing new chaos. Soon we discover the dreaded killer is none other than Russell. Seeing this, Wade tries to defend him, starting a fight with the villain. Amidst the blows, he manages to get rid of the neutralizing collar, so his severe wounds heal quickly. The boy continues to flee from Cable until Deadpool comes back to life and attacks the villain without hesitation, ironically introducing himself as Batman. Cable tells him he comes from the future, and our protagonist starts mocking him. The fight continues for a few more minutes, but unfortunately the villain steals the coin Vanessa left him before dying, and the boy is captured again and Deadpool dies once more. This takes our protagonist back to Vanessa in the other dimension, still unable to reach her due to the invisible barrier. He decides to tell her what's happened, and she responds that children are a great opportunity to be better. So he begins to believe Russell is the key. Without hesitation, he goes to the usual bar to talk with his friend about what he should do to move forward, and the first thing that comes to mind is creating a battle team with Dopinder volunteers. But he's quickly rejected for not having any superpowers in the prison. Russell manages to reach a large cell where a great beast has supposedly been hiding for many years. So he gives it his lunch and asks for its help. Meanwhile, Deadpool holds auditions to form his new team. The first to show up is Terry Crews, whom we all remember from his iconic role in White Chicks. But here he doesn't have the power to sing. Here he can distort electric fields. Next comes the clown called Zeitgeist in this movie who can vomit acid, earning him a spot on the team. There's also a Vanisher who is invisible or simply didn't show up on time, so we can't see him. Rusty describes himself as better than everyone. A girl named Domino with the power of luck and the human of Peter without any abilities who is accepted because of his sincerity, much to Dopinder's annoyance. Once the new team is formed, they prepare to intercept Russell's transport. They all use parachutes, but there's a strong wind that day and everything goes wrong. Deadpool gets caught on a large sign. Terry dies crashing into a bus. The invisible guy is electrocuted on some wires, revealing his true identity as Brad Pitt. Peter lands safely, but Zeitgeist gets stuck in a wood chipper, and when Peter tries to help him, they both end up dying. The only one to survive is Domino, thanks to her incredible luck. She manages to survive all the dangers on her path as she continues with Deadpool's plan. However, things won't be easy for them because Cable also plans to kidnap Russell, sparking another intense battle with Deadpool, joined by his lone surviving teammate. During the fight, Russell takes advantage of the distraction to free the mysterious beast, who turns out to be a giant mutant named Juggernaut. The first thing this giant does is tear Deadpool's body in half, and then Russell decides to leave with Juggernaut, saying he plans to get revenge on the headmaster of the boarding school for all the harm done to him. With no other options, Domino carries half of Deadpool to the blind old woman's house, where he begins to regenerate, slowly showing his tiny childlike legs reminiscent of the joke from the first movie where he had a tiny hand. Everyone is shocked by this, but the most important moment is when Cable shows up to make an intelligent proposal. He asks Deadpool to team up to defeat Juggernaut because this beast is truly powerful. During the conversation, we learn that thanks to the screenwriters, Cable can't use his ability to travel back and prevent the Juggernaut's birth, as it would be too easy a solution. So Deadpool empathizes with him and agrees to help. However, our protagonist insists that it wasn't Russell's doing, assures Cable he won't kill the boy, and asks for one last chance to convince Russell to change his ways, and they quickly agree to form a new super team. They make a stop at the X-Men mansion, where Deadpool serenades Colossus, asking for forgiveness and begging him to join them because they need his strength. And here we find Colossus is heartbroken, and the girls are still upset. Meanwhile, Russell and Juggernaut arrive at the boarding school to exact their revenge. Shortly after our protagonist and his team arrive, Domino confesses she grew up in the same place, so luck is giving her a second chance. The new team tries to stop Russell, but he decides to blow up the door and begins chasing the headmaster. At the same time, Juggernaut battles Deadpool and his allies with his super strength until Domino manages to exploit his weakness. Our protagonist is severely injured, but luckily Colossus shows up to help him, as he is his true friend and makes him feel a bit better. However, things aren't over yet because Juggernaut has survived and starts fighting Colossus. Domino also fights several of the school staff in front of the other mutant kids, and Cable helps Deadpool when he's in danger. Russell corners the headmaster, threatens to burn him alive. Just in time, Deadpool and Cable appear, trying to stop him civil, although Cable still considers killing him violently. Outside, the X-Men girls show up at the right moment to help Colossus, and shortly after Russell causes another explosion with his power, just before being strangled, we see Deadpool and Cable weakened by the young boy who is determined to harm them. Despite everything, the Deadpool approaches him again, trying to convince him to change his ways and apologize for abandoning him in prison. The boy says he can't trust anyone and attacks again. So Deadpool opts to put on the collar that disables his power and is willing to sacrifice himself for everyone else, telling Russell he's ready to die to ensure he doesn't hurt anyone. Cable disagrees and shoots at the boy, but unexpectedly, Deadpool runs quickly, taking the bullet to protect the young villain. Everyone regrets what happened. As Deadpool's powers are disabled, Colossus tries to deactivate the collar, but Deadpool doesn't let him because he wants to reunite with Vanessa. When the young villain realizes someone sacrificed themselves for him, he begins to change his attitude, and amid a heartfelt song, we see Deadpool die, Well, not really, because seconds later he opens his eyes to say goodbye to each of his companions before dying for real. Well, actually not. This joke happens a few more times amid Deadpool's typical humor. But then he finally dies and we see Wade can join Vanessa in the other dimension. Everyone laments his death, and incredibly Cable decides to go back in time, though he no longer plans to save his family. Meanwhile, Vanessa tells Wade they don't have much time together because it's not his time yet and promises to wait for him in that same place until it's his turn to return. We realize that just before arriving at the boarding school, Cable gently tapped Deadpool's chest to place a lead plate exactly where he would get shot, saving him. Our protagonist is surprised because Cable used his only time travel moment to save him, and the former villain confesses. He did it because he knows his family is safe, deciding to stay in this present for a while. Though Cable doesn't admit it, Deadpool knows he wants to stay for him, and quickly Russell removes the collar that suppresses his powers so he can hug his new friend. This new squad is about to leave when the headmaster of the boarding school shows up, insulting them for being violent. Epically, our trusted taxi driver arrives and smashes him. The story doesn't end there because we have post-credit scenes. This time, Negasonic manages to fix Cable's time machine, and Deadpool uses it for incredible things. For example, he kills Vanessa's assassin just before she gets shot, changing everything that happened afterward and promising their daughter will be named Cher. He also saves Peter's life, kills the sewn-mouthed Deadpool from the X-Men movie with Wolverine, and shoots Ryan Reynolds in the head just before he accepts the role in Green Lantern. But the best part is when he travels to Hitler's birth and approaches the baby, intending to strangle him. That was Deadpool 2. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on what movies you want to see next, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next video.